Welcome. In front of me I have the Honor Magic V2 and I'll go over unboxing along with a quick look at the device itself along with its specs. So, before I open the box up, I am going to quickly mention that I did already record this video and just kind of dumbly didn't realize that I ran out of storage. So the phone is already open and set up, but the experience is exactly the same, minus the little foil that it's in that I kind of ripped apart. In any case, popping it open, the box right here, it feels like a premium device right off the bat, and I will be comparing this to Samsung Fold 4, which was, more accurately, my daily drivers for almost 2 years before it broke, and Samsung decided to not kind of give me the warranty fix because I didn't have proof of purchase, like the initial purchase. I had proof of purchase, the one that they didn't want to accept. So at least I had the opportunity to return it through the store that I bought it through, and because it was an online store, they were kind of forced to give me all the money back. So go me and screw Samsung. Now that being said, first thing when comparing these two devices together, box and look just feels like you're actually getting a premium device that costs the money that you're paying. Unlike Samsung, which comes with a small little crappy little box without the charger or anything like that, and just feels like you're getting a middle finger, and Samsung just looks at you, laughs in your face and says, thanks for the money, sucker. So here I actually feel like Honor is kind of appreciating me as a customer that bought their premium device, and the unboxing, if you look at that, actually feels premium. So right here we have the phone, which I already mentioned, I have set up, as you can see. So flipping that out of it, it would normally come without the fingerprints on the display, front or back, so just kind of want to point that out. But in any case, I'm going to set it up, or set it to the side for now. So moving on to the rest of the box, we have some paperwork, a Type-C to Type-C charging cable, along with this case that comes with the device. And that being said, the case that comes actually feels nice. It's something that I would most certainly be using, as it, number one, protects your device, and number two, adds versatility to it with a little kickflip right here. So closing the box and moving to the phone itself, let's start off with the display at the front, which you can kind of see right now. I am going to open up settings, got it, as it's fully white background, so you can kind of see the bezels of it. So the screen right here is a 6.43 inches in size, running a resolution of 1060 by 2376 pixels. Comes with about 400 pixels per inch, and the glass itself at the front is something that they're calling Nano Crystal Glass 2.0. First time I'm hearing about it, so I don't know how good this is, how it compares to something like Corning Gorilla Glass Victus or anything like that, so keep that in mind. It also has a LTPO OLED display right here, 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, and a peak brightness of whopping 2500 nits. So the display on the front, the cover one, is really good, obviously as you would expect for the price tag. Now, one thing to also add is the size of this. This is what you would expect from a typical size display. Here is my Huawei Mate 20 Pro, and you can kind of see that these displays compare very well together. It's roughly about the same kind of size of a display. So if it comes to using just the cover display right here, you'll have a typical candy bar experience. Additionally, the device itself is very thin compared to the Fold 4. Fold 4 is a chunky piece of crap, weighs significantly more, is just thicker and more like a brick rather than a phone. In addition, it also comes with a smaller battery compared to the Honor, which has a 5000 mAh battery, which is something that you'd expect from a device this size. And honestly surprises me that they managed to fit such a battery cell in something that is this thin. So compared to my device right here, you can see that we are roughly about the same thickness. Now, it is just a tad thicker comparing it to like the, for instance, Mate 20 Pro that I have right here. So yeah. Now, this is just a cover display. One more thing that I didn't mention is the little subtle curve to the side of it, which I would say adds to the experience of using the cover display, though I would say only maybe adds it if you're a right-hand user. As personally, I'm gonna put that out there, I'm using the back gestures, and because of the curved display, this will feel much better for me because of that curve right here. Now, when you flip it open, that's when you have this massive display. This is a 7.92-inch display with a resolution of 2156 by 2344. It is almost square display. It is absolutely gargantuan with very minimal bezels all around, symmetrical bezels additionally, but we do unfortunately have this little cutout for the selfie camera right here in the inside. We also have another selfie camera on the cover display and obviously at the back. So I personally, I know that I'm gonna be the very odd one here. I wouldn't mind not having a camera inside, as it just kind of obstructs the nice look of the display, the full like screen slab of display right here that you get. Now, when opened, this device is just absolutely razor thin. You can see this. So when compared to like normal devices like this one, you can see it is significantly thinner now. So it feels really nice. It is also very light considering the size of it. So that's also very nice. And going into the actual full specs of the inside display, I already mentioned the resolution and the screen size. This is also a LTPO OLED display, 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, IMAX enhanced, whatever that's supposed to be, and a peak brightness of 1600 nits. So it does lose a little bit of brightness on the inside right here, but still a very, very nice display all in all. And now, moving on to the cameras at the back, we have 50 megapixel f1.9 wide sensor, PDAF, and 8x8 D time of flight laser autofocus and optical image stabilization, 20 megapixels f2.4, 62 megapixel telephoto lens with PDAF 2.5 times optical zoom and optical image stabilization, and then 50 megapixel f2.0, 13 megapixel millimeters ultra wide with autofocus. And with those cameras, you can record videos at 4K 30 and 60 frames, 10-bit, 1080p 3060, gyroscopic electronic image stabilization, HDR10+ support, and optical image stabilization. And then at the front, we have a 16 megapixel f2.2 wide sensor, which you can record videos at 4K 30 frames and 1080p 30 frames, along with gyroscopic electronic image stabilization. So, one thing that is missing from here is the inside lens, which I assume is basically the same as the cover display, though I might be wrong about that one, or maybe I'm mixing them up. But in any case, while we're at the back cameras, I do want to point out the design right here. We have this eco leather back, feels really nice to touch. I have a branding logo, Honor logo right here, which just kind of punches through the leather right here. The cover that comes with the device is also with this eco leather, as you can see, a little kickstand right here, and it also protects your hinge right here with this little flap. One thing that I'm kind of curious about is if it's not gonna kind of wear out and just stay kind of flapped open, but at the moment it feels like it somehow just kind of always snaps back. And when you open it up, you kind of have a bit of a place where you can kind of grab it. As you can see, I am able to almost fully hold it with this. It does kind of slip up, but when holding it normally kind of like this, it gives you much better grip over the device. And one more thing is, when it's open, the little kick thing doesn't really want to open up any further. So this is the maximum that it will open, and it automatically closes with the device. Now it does seem like it's just bent out of shape a little bit, as it feels like there is a little bit more kind of play on the top than there is on the bottom. But hopefully that's something that's just kind of gonna get pressed out over using the device. And one more thing with this little stand, you can use this device at this point like this, or possibly like this, though this doesn't really feel all that well. And when you open it up, you move it to the side like this, and it also just has a nice stand. It doesn't really wobble around, so you don't have much of a option that it's gonna like tip over or anything like that. So it does feel solid. And the stand itself has a spring, as you can see, but it does magnetically attach once you get to closing point. And it doesn't want to open up on its own, so no worries there. Now, moving on to the internals. I already mentioned that this device has a 5000 mAh battery. Now, what I didn't mention is the charging speed, which for this device is 66 watt charger, severely outpassing the Samsung Galaxy Fold 4 and Fold 5. So obviously, very good. The battery here is, like I mentioned, bigger than the Samsung ones. So again, that's another win for Honor. The only downside is, like I mentioned, for this price, it kind of feels odd and kind of soils this a little bit that it didn't come with a provided charger in a box. It does have 66 watt capable charging capability. I would really like to see that charger being included with the device for this price. But comparing it to Samsung, Samsung doesn't include a charger either, nor do they include a case, which here we have one. Moving on into the internals, we have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so not the newest one. When we compare it to the Samsung Fold 5, Fold 5 comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, so a newer version of it. This one is a little bit behind, but I'll touch upon this later on when I'm talking also about the the OS that is on here compared to the Samsung. Continuing, we have a 16 GB RAM option. We have multiple storage options, but 16 is going across the board for all the storage options. And the storage options here are 256, 512, and 1 terabyte. So we have a pretty vast options for storage for storages. Now there is no expandable storage right here with SD card, so something to keep in mind. But neither I think does anybody expect there to be one on such a thin device. And getting a look into the OS, it is something that you would expect more from a typical candy bar device. So not much in terms of flair for the big canvas right here that we have. It just acts more or less like a typical candy bar device. And just kind of showcase this. So the cover display right here, which is the typical size display, houses your 4 applications at the bottom in a dock, along with 4 above with like some app tray and widgets, and then we have a second page of 4x2 right now applications. Now when you open it up, you will notice that one thing that got actually added, which wasn't the first boot, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. We have the 4 applications right here that were basically the docked one, the 4 right here with the widgets, and obviously this is a split in the middle option, and then the 4x2 applications right here. Now one thing that appeared later on, which wasn't visible at the very beginning, is the 3 applications that will cycle through the most recently used applications. So that kind of adds a little bit more versatility to the dock when opened. Very good actual design right here, and goes a little bit past the typical candy bar experience. So it has a little bit. They also have this little dock right here that you can pull out, and you can split screen applications, open them in pop-up view. So if I open up any application, it gets open in this kind of form factor. You can then grab it and, for instance, move it to the side. It blurs out the background, then opens it up in this kind of view, and I can open up something else, like for instance calculator. I can also swap it from to be top and bottom instead. So obviously adds a bit of versatility to it. Now, by the looks of it, we don't really have an option to have some kind of app combinations right here, at least not at the first glance. So that's something that might be in here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not. It would be very nice to have the option to have like app combination. Just click on one application, opens up the 2 split screen apps. Now, also one more thing to say about this. When using the split screen, you can also add additional applications over it, as you can see. Minimize them to an app head, so you can use 3 applications at once. There is no option to use more than that, or specifically split screen applications. So if I grab one more, as you can see, whatever I try to drag it, it will just replace the current one. So I don't have an option to have, like for instance on a Samsung you would, application like 4 apps at the same time. So that's a bit of a downside of this, but still 2 applications for a size like this I think are sufficient enough, and I honestly wouldn't need anything more than that. Which leads me to come back to the thing that I was going to talk about, which is comparing it to Samsung and their OS. So Samsung does prioritize their system to be more robust when it comes down to multitasking with an open display like this. It is done well, I'm not going to dispute that, but as a person that used it for 2 years, I found myself needing the open, like the bigger display for a single application use case scenario rather than split screening and multitasking. I benefited more from the big display rather than the ability for me to use multiple apps at the same time. So that was one of the downsides for this. And Samsung, even though it had a good OS, lacked in the size of that display, because this right here is significantly bigger than what Samsung offers. And in addition, it felt more cumbersome to use it when it's closed compared to this, which has a just normal sized display as a cover display, compared to Samsung feeling like a remote control. So that's another downside. So I would personally go hands down for this, as the feel of this device is much more premium, the experience is better, the feel of the device in hand is better, the cameras, not sure if those would be better, but the device all in all just feels much nicer to actually use on a daily basis. And what I would be needing this device for, I wouldn't really need to have 4 applications running in simultaneously. I would at tops be using 2 apps, maybe 3 max, which this device covers no problem. 3 applications obviously. And for single app usage, like I would be wanting to, for instance, see charts for trading, this device obviously would go through that no problem. It would display it brilliantly on this massive display, which is all I would really need. So this device is much better. And one last thing that I'm going to talk about is the crease, the biggest elephant in the room. The crease right here is almost unnoticeable. When you're swiping on a display, you can't feel it whatsoever. When it comes down to reflecting light, if I bring it up, you can see that it does reflect it weirdly a little bit, and the light needs to be just a little bit off while it's still reflecting, as you can see right here. Samsung Fold doesn't even compare to this whatsoever. Your light source might be completely off the display like this, and you will still see the light being reflected in the crease, which is absolutely annoying when you're, for instance, riding somewhere in summer and sun is everywhere. And no matter how you position the device, assuming it's not against the sun, so the sun is right here, you're always, at least I felt like I always could see the sun being reflected in the crease one way or another, and it just felt like a massive pain. So I really like the fact that the crease right here is almost unnoticeable. The downside of this is the device isn't waterproof, unlike Samsung's devices, which are. But personally, the waterproofing was almost never useful for me, so I would prefer to have this kind of design, the device that closes without a gap, which the 5th one Samsung also does now, but it's much thinner on top of that, and the crease is almost unnoticeable. So those are all the benefits that I would prefer to take over the Samsung OS that they're basically offering that would be better compared to this. This device offers, experience-wise, in terms of the device and hardware, everything is better than Samsung, and the OS is the only lacking part right here, which for me is a worthwhile trade-off. Now, with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to smash like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.